Broward County. Edward, welcome to Traders Nation. How are you today?
Thank you very much. I'm very well. How are you?
Good, good. Listen, Edward, thanks for being with us here today. You know, running for Congress, which has the worst approval rating right now in American history, and it needs to be fixing, where do you start?
Well, I'll tell you what we need to do is, we have 91% of the American public right now thinks that all of Congress is pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think a good start is getting rid of every single incumbent that we have. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but I think a great start is getting rid of the fire-breathing liberal here in District 19,
yeah,
and start getting some people involved in our government that are going to give the government back to the people.
All right. Now, who's that fire-breathing liberal? Is that Wexley?
Robert Wexler.
Okay, Wexler. Okay, good enough. Now, we'll get to him in a minute. All right, so wouldn't that be ideal, though? If we could just clean house, start all over, but that's not going to happen. So we've got to get in there one at a time, don't we?
Yeah, we've got to get in with as many good people, and it doesn't matter where you are in the country.
Yeah.
You got to take out the bad ones and put in the good ones, and, you know, I feel that I'm one of the good ones.
Sure.
But I'm definitely replacing one of the bad ones with, you know, a lot of the things that have been going on. But pretty much for the most part, I mean, when you think about it, right now 74% of the American public thinks that we should be drilling. My question is this.
Yeah.
Why doesn't 74% of Congress feel the same way? Where's the representation?
I don't get that, because let's face it, Edward. I mean, here we have Congress. They adjourn, turn the lights off, turn the microphones off, turn the video cameras off, and went on vacation. Republicans are sitting there going, listen, come back. We need to talk about this. We've got a crisis on our hands. And Pelosi and your bunions are heading out. They're leaving.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. I mean, when you think about it, they're supposed to be our public servants, and they're supposed to serve the public.
Who are they serving?
I've had companies and businesses, and every single time there was a problem that had to be dealt with,
yeah,
even if I had a planned vacation, which I didn't take very many vacations,
right,
but even if I did what had to be done immediately. I work Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, New Year's Day, any of the holidays if something had to be taken care of. And to have our Congress literally say to their bosses,
right,
you know what, I'm just going to go on vacation. I don't care what you want. I don't care what problems we have in our country right now. We need to go on vacation because, after all, we only work 164 days a year.
Right. I just can't. The timing on the Democratic side, to me, is just I just can't fathom it. It just doesn't come to me that they would actually leave at a time of crisis right now. Not right now. Not right now. They need to get back in there, and they need to address these energy issues, okay? They can worry about Christmas and their vacations at another time, in my opinion. All right, so let's say you get in, which I think you've got a good chance to do. What committees are you going to go and get involved with?
Well, before I even get involved in any of the committees,
yeah,
I'd like to start straightening out some of the problems that we have that are facing District 19 here in Florida,
yeah,
and indeed the rest of the nation.
Right.
So when I get in, you know, it's something to look at the different committees, and I would love to be on many of them, the Financial Services Committee perhaps. I'd like to be on the committee that overlooks some of the issues that we deal with in the Middle East and
right,
foreign relations, but the bottom line is we've got to fix some of the problems that we have facing our nation right here and right now, primarily, and as soon as we do that, then we can look into fixing some of the other issues that we have around the world.
All right, what's going on with Wexler? There's a big thing. Saw it on Fox with Bill O'Reilly, and real quickly, and I don't want to focus on that too much, but what's going on with him?
Well, it appears for the past 11 years, and it doesn't appear, it's pretty factual that he sold his house here in Palm Beach,
yeah,
in Boca Raton, and he moved to Maryland.
Okay.
Lock, stock, and barrel. His family goes to school there. His kids go to school there. His wife works there. And what they did was they used the address of his in-laws, his wife's mother and father, in a gated 55 and older community that he's not allowed to live in anyway. And he's been using that address to claim as his legal residence, and he's been using it to vote.
Yeah.
And I remember when a couple years back when Ann Coulter had done a similar situation under the guidance of the FBI,
right,
and she gave an address in the same district just a few doors down.
Right.
And Robert Wexler was one of the chief guys going after her, saying, oh, voter fraud, this is voter fraud. She's voting using an address that's not even her address. Well, here we have a congressman that is living in another state using an address that he can't even live in. At least she could live in that address and, you know, would stay there and visit there or whatever.
That's correct.
It's really incredible. It's the audacity and the arrogance of our Congress, and it's my congressman, and I'm embarrassed by it.
Right. All right. So that's a big level of hypocrisy. Is it legal? Is there a legal issue here?
We feel that there is, and we're letting people look at it. And there's another issue that's going on here in Palm Beach County.
Yeah.
Last year was voted on that if you dare to, because of redistricting, and say your children go to an A-rated school now,
sure,
and you redistrict, and all of a sudden they have to go to an F-rated school.
Yeah.
People were actually using other addresses as their address to get their kids in a better school environment,
right,
to a better education.
Right.
And now that's a felony as of last year in Palm Beach County, and they're voting on, I think they voted on it in Broward County and made it a felony also. And it's so hypocritical that we have a congressman that sits there and is using an address to vote, using an address to claim as his legal residence,
yeah,
which is against the Constitution.
All right.
And when we have parents that are just trying to get their children a better education, and they're being faced with felony charges.
Yeah. All right. Now, listen. Another thing comes to my mind was, what about taxes? Where does the guy file? If he's in Florida as a congressman, but he resides in Maryland, how do you handle your tax situation?
Well, the issue, and everyone thought in the very beginning that we're trying to show that Congressman Wexler is not a member of the population here in Florida, doesn't have his residence here.
I see.
And Florida has some very lax residency rules because there is no state tax in Florida.
All right.
However, because there is a very high state tax in Maryland, Maryland has very specific rules as to what constitutes residency, inhabitancy, and a domicile.
Yeah.
And the Wexlers fulfill every single rule that they have. Therefore, he is a resident and domiciled in and an inhabitant of Maryland. Therefore, he cannot be those things in Florida.
Right. All right. So it really comes back. So how does he get out of this? I mean, I don't know how he could possibly wiggle. There's no wiggle room in this, is there?
I don't believe that there is, and especially this is a guy every day yelling about President Bush and how terrible he is. And
is a Bush hater? Yeah. All right. All right. So the guy's a Bush hater, and there's a lot of hypocrisy as far as how he runs his professional life. All right. So I just don't know how he's going to get out of this. Let's go on to some issues. Recently, there's been a lot of reports going out as far as Katrina, and police coming in and seizing weapons, rifles, stuff like that, from honest citizens with no reason, no rhyme or reason, just coming in and seizing their weapons. Now, the Second Amendment says, hey, listen, you got a right to bear arms. These people were honest Americans, protecting their homes, and here comes the police. They come in and they seize their weapons. One guy asked for a receipt. He says, if we gave out receipts, we'd be here all day long. What is that? Is anybody looking into that, do you know?
We do have the Second Amendment, and I believe very strongly in the right for Americans to have and to bear arms.
Sure.
And in fact, Bob Wexler's home state of Maryland, with Washington, D.C. right there, just passed they looked at that constitutionally, and the judges came back and said, you know what?
Yeah.
They're entitled, according to the Second Amendment, to have their guns.
Sure.
And I have no problem, and a lot of Second Amendment guys got mad at me. I was talking to a guy yesterday.
Yeah.
I have no problem giving up my guns
Yeah.
as soon as you can guarantee me that every single bad person in the United States will never, ever have a weapon.
Right.
Then I would gladly give up mine, even though I like to hunt and things like that.
Right.
But until they can guarantee that, they're my guns. According to the Constitution, I'm allowed to have them.
That's
and
right.
I think that's one of the problems that we have with our government,
Yeah.
is we've got politicians in there that basically do whatever it is that they want. And I got news for them. As of November, America is sick and tired of what's going on,
Right.
and it candy